This conference will now be recorded.
So all right.
Yes, it looks all right, Keshavulu. We can start.
Yeah.
You want to say a few words, Keshavulu?
Yeah, I'm okay. So I can say that. So without the wasting the time, yeah, maybe. So hello to everyone. So welcome to the rule session. Yeah, you can start our rest. So you please.
Absolutely. So first of all, I
Okay.
want to just thank. Oh, Andreas.
May I quickly say a few words? We have an open session here, and everybody could talk. Could you please mute yourself when you're not talking, and if you want to talk, it makes it easier for me if you switch on your switch on your mic, and I will see that you want to talk. Okay? Because you can ask questions when Ernest asks. But in the meantime, please close your microphones, and that's all.
All right.
Yeah, I
I
think
don't think
so.
someone got your message already,
Yeah,
Andreas.
I think I didn't get through to Bavaria.
But yeah, I think
Yeah, I can.
All right.
Bavaria is always special.
Don't want to comment.
So before I get started, can everyone see my screen now?
I think
Yes.
yes.
Okay, great. All right. So hello everyone. Thank you for joining us on today's call. Today we have about 24 rules proposals. So to be respectful of the time that we have scheduled for today's meeting, I'm going to pretty much jump right into it after these after my few words. Depending on the amount of discussion for each of the proposals that we have today, um, depending on how much discussion we have for each one of the proposals, I may have to stop some discussions in order to ensure that we give each proposal an opportunity to be heard. After hearing the comments and discussions, it will be up to the TCOMs as to whether they want to table the proposal or keep it going forward to the OGM today. I will ask the rules chairs or a designee to be prepared to be called on once your rule proposal is being read. There may be a comment that Andreas gets after I open the floor. And then at that point, I may say a few words, or I may open it right up to the rules chair. So just be prepared if you're a TCOM member or if you're the rules chair and your proposal is being discussed. Sue and I will do our best to capture all of the comments that come in, so that I can put all of the comments on a comment document and post it on the website. However, if you are in one of the TCOMs, hopefully you guys will be keeping track of the comments that come into you. Also keeping track of the responses that you give today, so that those can be recorded as accurately as possible when they're posted on the website. Like Andreas said, if you're not speaking, make sure that you keep your microphone on mute. We're going to be on a very tight schedule, I think, today, just to be able to get through everything. So just make sure your microphones are on mute. If you have a question, if you hopefully by now the proposals have been online for about a month or more already. So you should know what you are comfortable with, what you may have questions with already. Please be prepared to ask those questions now. At the annual meeting, because these proposals will have already been seen and went over several times by us during this meeting, I will not take many comments on these proposals unless there are special reason to. At the end of this presentation, we'll need to discuss an editorial correction that came in from the Seat Health Committee. It didn't get posted on time. However, because it is editorial, I'm going to allow it to. We're going to allow it to be heard today and to be voted on at the annual meeting. So, just to get started, I want to start off by thanking everyone that's helped in this process. Sue Alvarez, my vice chair, obviously Andres and his team at the Secretariat. They're always wonderful in terms of making sure that I get all the documents and any information that comes in from you gets transferred back to me so that we can move forward. And then obviously the TCOM chairs and the TCOMs. Without you guys, we wouldn't be having a session because there would be no rules to discuss. So thank everyone that's involved, and hopefully we'll have a good session, and hopefully we can make this finish in the time frame that is allotted. Starting with the editorial corrections today. What I'm going to do with these is we'll go through all of them fairly quickly, because again, everyone should have had an opportunity to look at these and think about them already. So I shouldn't need to read everything. I will stroll through slowly though, for those that may not have had a chance to view everything as thoroughly, so that you can see them. At the end of all of the editorial corrections, we'll open the floor for a brief discussion on them. And then we'll get into the proposals, where after each proposal, I'll open the floor for discussion. So starting with A1 of the editorial correction, this is a simple one. The ISTA Secretariat moved its office in 2021. We neglected to put this change in the ISTA rules. So you can see that here in blue. Throughout this document, for those of you guys that attend this every year and attend the meetings, red is the change that we have made. Blue is the update. If you see green, it means that it's something that you probably haven't seen before. Okay. The next editorial change is an inconsistency between instructions on how to report the results of GMO testing. You can see what that was for there. Again, blue is the actual change. In the editorial corrections, you're going to see some of the words in blue underlined. Please just disregard the underline. I didn't take it out when I submitted this.
Can I just say one thing? Hello to everybody.
Sure, Enrico.
Okay. Yes, just to this looks like many changes. Of course, these are editorial. I want to underline this because this is already in the chapter 19, and this is what is going to be reflected on chapter 1 regarding certificate. So it is just really editorial, although it looks like many changes. That's it.
The next editorial correction is an inconsistency between 3.7 and 3.613. The ISTA Purity Committee addressed the gap by submitting this editorial correction. The correction provides consistent requirements between section 3.7 and 3.6.1.3. It also dealt by dealing with the rounding issue. I think it's probably better if I read this for everyone. Fraction percentages must be rounded to 1 decimal place. After rounding, add together the percentages of all fractions. Fractions that are to be reported as trace are excluded from this calculation. The other fractions must then together total 100%. And there was just one change to this. You'll see it in blue coming up. The next editorial change, required 5.10, clarifying the column to be checked in table 5A part 2, double test. Column 7 should be examined and not column 6. So it's just a correction from column 6 to column 7. The next 2 editorial changes you guys have not seen yet, but they are editorial. The editorial change required due to 11.4.4 being missing from the current ISTA rules. The chapter will either need a placeholder for 11.4.4 or it will need to be renumbered after 11.4.3 so that there's no gap in the table of contents and in the chapter. So in this image, you see that there's no 11.4.4. And this is a snippet of the actual chapter itself, where 11.4.4 is missing and there is no placeholder for it. The next editorial change that you have not seen yet, it was required due to the alphabetical order of 2 Centrosema species in table 5A, part 1, being out of order. The table in chapter 5 will be updated with the correct order in the 2024 rules. And I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for people that may have questions on these editorial changes.
So remind you, just open your mic and I will have a look who
Yes.
wants to ask a question. I have the right order. I think there are no questions. No open mics, Ernest.
Okay.
Seems to be okay.
So I'm going to move forward.
No, that's okay. That's someone joining. Okay.
I didn't really expect anything for the editorial correction, so we'll move forward. That's good to save us a little bit of time. So part B, new species and changes to species names. I1, revision of the process to add new species to table 2C. This proposal is to provide a standard method to determine the working weight of purity and other seed determinations for adding a new taxon to table 2C, including data rounding rules. With collaboration among 3 committees, the working weight determinations were developed based on statistically recognized methods for estimating variables such as lots, variety, and testing laboratories, as well as, and they removed by removing data outliers. The calculator for adding working weights to table 2C is available on the ISTA website now. The proposal is provided by the Bulking and Sampling Committee and the Purity Committee, and the statistical methods applied and the experimental design recommended in the calculator were developed by the Statistics Committee. And I think I'm right about that, Andres. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that calculator is available right now on the ISTA website.
Correct, Ernest.
Correct, yes.
It's
on the ISTA website.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the floor for any comments on this.
Any comments? I don't see open mics, Ernest.
Okay, moving forward to I2, revision of Form 1, proposal for inclusion of new species in the ISTA rules, revised bullet 2, 3, and added a new bullet 4 to this section. Form 1 is updated with the newly developed calculators for adding working weight to Table 2C under bullet 2. Bullet 3 was revised to clarify the purpose of providing morphological features for the pure seed definition. The requirement to provide validated working weights for a new taxon or a group of taxa was clarified in a new step, bullet 4. This revision is to improve the procedures and guidance for proposing the new taxon to Table 2C. And this proposal was approved by the Purity Committee along with this with voting. So if there is any comments on this one, if the Purity Committee chair or designee could be prepared to open up the mic. The floor is open.
Again, if you want to speak, please open your mic and wait until we let you speak. But I don't see any open mics. Thank you. Clyde, do you want to have a question because you opened your mic? Clyde? Oh, closed again.
Addition of new species to Table 2C. There were none this year. And changes to the ISTA list of stable plant names. The next revision for the ISTA stabilized list of plant names will be discussed in the 2025 ISTA Congress and voted on during the 2025 OGM. The committee will begin working on that. I think Melanie wants to start that this year or toward the end of this year.
Maybe if you allow me 10 seconds, Ernest.
Sure.
We will this time align also with the OECD seed schemes. They agreed to have the same cycle as we have, so there will be no differences in plant names in future anymore between the stabilized plant list and the OECD seed schemes, just as an information from my side, which may be important for a few of you people.
Okay. All right. Moving forward to Part C, rule changes and new methods requiring the vote. ISTA certificates. I'm going to read all of this, you guys, because I think because there were some comments that were sent to me on this proposal, and some of you in the audience may have some too. So I just want to make sure that that we go through this, and if you can read along with me. The following proposal has been developed by an ecom working group and supported by experimental data. A summary report and analysis is supplied by the statistics TCOM also. The report of the ISTA Statistics TCOM shows that the tomato seed lots in the experiment using separate primary spatial examples from the original lot were clean with 100% pure seed and no other seed, but with a different percent of germination values. The seed lots were homogeneous for percent germination. The analysis used real data and the computer model to answer the question, what is the maximum number of sublots that can be traded commercially and still reflect the quality of the original seed lot? The answer was that there was no limit to the number of sublots that could be made from the original seed lot because the tomato seed lots were found to be completely homogeneous. This finding was discussed by the ISTA members of the ECOM working group with Kirk Raymond and John Louis Conreen and the executive committee of ISTA, who recommended that although in theory there's no maximum number of sublots for homogeneous seed lots of tomato, we would set a maximum of 20 sublots. The reason to set the maximum of 20 is that the larger survey of tomato seed lots showed some can have a low level of other seed content, and to ensure that both buyers and sellers, that the test results represent what is traded and therefore take a more cautious approach. In addition, the 20 sublot maximum is also known to be a practical solution for companies producing tomato seed lots. So the industry was involved in that group as well. This proposal was approved by the Statistics TCOM and unanimous vote of the Bulking and Sampling Committee and the ECOM Vegetable Seed Industry Working Group. I'm going to show you the change that was made here. And we had a few comments to come in. What I'll do is I'll read these comments first, and then Andres, you can let me know if any comments are from the floor.
Yes.
The first comment is related to section 1.3i of the proposal, so the first section that we just saw. Why should an exception be made here only for tomato seed? In the German expert group meeting in autumn of 2022, we pointed out to the representative of the Bulking and Sampling TCOM that it is customary in the case of cereals to certify and trade sublots with less than 20% of the total lot quantity. In our opinion, it should be possible to extend the amendment of the sublot regulation to other species as well. Has this request yet reached the Bulking and Sampling Committee? If so, what is the current status there? Is there a review of the 20% rule that has been applied so far? So I have Rules Committee here for a response, but anyone from the Bulking and Sampling Committee, since this was definitely, since you were mentioned directly in it, may respond to this. Or the ECOM VSI working group can respond to. So right now, you guys, I'll respond while someone else may be thinking about a response. Right now, the reason why we decided to make an exception for this is because, first of all, the industry came forward and saw this as an issue, and then there was a thorough study done on this one that had all the groups I mentioned earlier involved in it. So it proved that there was no real limit to the number of sublots that tomatoes can have. With all of that information backing this one species, we decided to move forward on that. We don't want to necessarily just apply a blanket approach to all species, simply because there may be species that for some reason or another um, may have more contamination just naturally in the market. So that's one of the reasons why we're only doing tomatoes right now. I don't think for the reason I gave you that we will be applying a blanket solution for other lots that that may want to have an exception similar to this. Does anyone else have anything to say on this, or does the person that made the comment have anything else they want to say?
I see also Corinne here. Maybe she wants to add something to the questions.
Corinne?
Yes, okay. First, I would say that I didn't have any information on this request, so we didn't work on it. And what I can say also is that the statistical study was done for tomato on specific conditions. So we cannot say it is possible to do the same for other species right now without study. But I think the statistical committee could have a good answer for this.
Is anyone from the statistical committee on right now that may want to just chime in?
I don't see anybody.
Okay.
Maybe, Ernest, we need to have an answer to these questions before the voting.
Okay. So what we'll do is I will pass this document along to everyone that was involved in this, the bulking sampling committee, the Ecom VSI, as well as the statistics committee. And this document will be posted probably within about 1 week with the response from these people in the document. Once we get that response, because it will be your first time seeing it, I will go over that again at the OGM.
Thank you, Ernest. I don't see any other open mics here.
Okay. So moving forward, C.1.2, reporting the sublot weight on an ISTA certificate. The following proposal has been developed by the Ecom VSI working group to allow the weight of the original seed lot and the weight of the sublot to be recorded in the same place on the ISTA certificate in the area that records the information that is supplied by the applicant. When this with this change, the statement in 1.4.2.1 was no longer needed, and therefore the proposal to delete 1.4.2.1 and renumber the other sections that follow. This proposal was approved by the statistics TCOM and unanimous vote of the bulking and sampling TCOM and the Ecom VSI working group. You see the changes here. And I'll read the comment that came in and got to me first, and then I'll open the floor. So the comment that came in was that CFIA, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, is in favor of this proposal, i.e. allowing the weight of the original seed lot and the weight of the sublot to be recorded in the same place on the ISTA certificate. in the area that records the information as supplied by the applicant. The only question we have is, does that mean the applicant is obligated to provide sublot information? If the applicant is not required to provide the sublot information, then this proposal would result in the customer not having the information about whether the lot is a sublot. Again, you guys, this is the first time that the TCOM chairs are seeing these comments, so they may not have a full response at this time. But chairs, if you want to just say something right now, this is the opportunity to do that. Are you seeing anything, Andres?
There is, just a second, I have to enlarge that. Anya? Anya, your mic is open. You want to have a comment? Doesn't look like, but we also have, oh no, Eddie and then Steve.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'm just commenting in my personal, well, not as a member of the BSc, but actually you can say also as a member of the BSc. I'm not personally in favor of deleting the statement from being put under other observations, or I'm not quite sure where it was put before. But if it's now under going to be indicated in the field as stated by the applicant. So the applicant doesn't want to state that this is a sublot of a regional lot, then the customer wouldn't know that this is a sublot of a regional lot. So the sampling regime is different from a bigger lot than from a smaller lot, the sampling intensity. So you may miss a bad bag, where in a smaller lot, the chances are better than you would sample that bag, and then the results would be different from what was indicated on the original for the original seed lot. So then there could be disputes, and not because of the fault of anybody, just because of the chances that you will may or may not sample a bad lot in one bad bag in a big lot against in a small lot. So that is when somebody sample a small sublot just for control purposes. So I would like to have that statement still where it were, so that the customer would know of the original lot. It was sampled from a lot size of so many kilograms.
Thank you, Eddie. Steve?
Ernest, just reading the question from CFIA, there's two thoughts that occur to me. The lab is going to know what the weight is because they have to make sure that it's not more than 20%, or for cereals not more than five lots. But it may be that the applicant doesn't want the information there. One of the other things that we've discussed in the past is that the OIC doesn't require the weight at the moment to be shown anywhere unless the applicant shows it and provides it. That could be something that's for the future, to revise the OIC itself or to update the rules to make sure that that has to be stated somewhere. So I think there are a couple of things that could be improved, and there are some other comments that will be coming from bulking and sampling rules and ecom about this proposal. I think like CFA said, the proposal is good, but do you really want to delete that text or not?
Thank you, Steve. Is there anything else coming in, Andres?
No further comments, which I can see.
Okay.
We can go ahead.
Thank you. Steve and Eddie, and for those others that may comment on proposals that are later down the line, I'll be reaching out to you just so that I can get your comment in your words, so I can put it on this document accurately and get it to the membership. Okay. C1.3, reporting of uncertainty of measurement on ISTA certificates. This proposed change is necessary to be consistent with what's stated in Chapter 19, what has been stated in 19 for several years. The need to report uncertainty of measurement when testing genetically modified organisms is specifically indicated in 19.7.2 and 19.7.3 in the current ISTA rules version. And also in 19.7.1 starting in this current version. The proposal was approved by vote within the GMO TCOM. And I'll show you the changes to this proposal, or the change to this proposal. And I don't think I received a comment, but let me just check to make sure. No. So I'll open the floor up for any comments.
I don't see any open mics. If you want to comment, please open your mic and I will let you in. No open mics.
Okay.
We can go ahead.
Forward. Chapter 2, sampling, C.2.1, revision of the method to add working weight and OSD weights to Table 2C. This proposal is to provide a standard method to determine the working weight of purity and other seed determinations for adding a new weight to Table 2C, including data rounding rules. With collaboration among the Bulking and Sampling Committee, Statistics Committee, and the Purity Committee, the working weight determinations were developed based on statistically recognized methods for estimating variables such as seed lots, variety, and testing laboratories, and removing data outliers. The calculator for adding working weights to Table 2C will be available, or is available, on the ISTA website now. This proposal was approved by majority vote within the Bulking and Sampling Committee and the Purity Committee. And the changes are on the right in blue. And while people are reading this, I'll go ahead and open up the floor, Andreas.
I got two open mics here. One is Marva. Do you want to say something, Marva, or is your mic open by accident? Seems to be open by accident. And Yannick?
I just have a editorial suggestion for this. So at the very beginning, we have the abbreviation of OSD explained, which is very helpful and it should be. But then it gets clarified another 2 times, which might be a little too much. And if you would take the regular wording out and just leave the abbreviation, this would also align with other parts of the rules in this change. For example, like 11.10. But yeah.
So so that'll provide additional clarity for this proposal. If anyone from the bulking and sampling committee or from the purity committee want to respond to that, you can do that now, or you can make this change, and it'll be reflected when I republish this document in about a week.
Ding.
Yeah, Yannick, I think I didn't catch all what you suggested. I would suggest you send us something in written, then we can re-thumb the wording, make it better. Okay.
Are there any other open mics, Andreas?
No other open mics.
So moving forward to C.2.2, revision of the maximum lot size allowance for selenium for tomato. The following proposal has been developed by the Vegetables Working Group to recognize that tomato seed lots are not usually produced or traded internationally in the same weights as equivalent size agricultural crops, 10,000 kilograms. And this is related to the other two proposals that we've seen so far today. A survey of ISF members producing tomato seed lots concluded that 200 kilogram is a maximum lot size for the international trade in seed tomatoes. This proposal is to reflect the unusual seed lot size in commercial production by amending Table 2C. This proposal was discussed in depth within the Bulking and Sampling Committee, and only approved by close vote of the Bulking and Sampling TCOM, as it was thought unnecessary to revise the weight when the maximum is just that, a maximum, and seed lots can be traded below the maximum. Also, if future amendments were required to reflect the commercial trade in other species in Table 2C, this would be a lot of work and effort that might be best spent elsewhere by the Bulking and Sampling TCOM. So this committee was this proposal though was still approved by the Statistics TCOM and by majority vote within the Bulking and Sampling Committee and the Ecom VSI Working Group. And there you can see the reduction in size there for tomato. I did receive a comment on this one, just as an FYI. Also, the voting block had the wrong number in it, so you see that in green where that was changed to reflect the right number. So we received 2 comments on this proposal. The first is that CFIA is not in favor of this proposal for the following two reasons. One, we are questioning whether the survey results would be enough to support the proposed change. And two, we also thought it unnecessary to revise the weight when the maximum is just that, a maximum, and seed lots can be traded below the maximum. First of all, Andreas, I want to just open the floor just for that one in case someone wants to expand on that or comment on that first comment.
Yeah, floor is open. Clyde, your mic is open, but that could be by accident again. You want to say something, Clyde? No, you closed it again. Bimal.
Okay.
Bimal?
Are you listening me?
Yes, can
Yeah.
hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm also agree with this CFIA suggestion that earlier till now we have a seed lot size about 10,000 kg in case of the like a persicon. So it is the maximum size. So we can prepare the lot below the 10,000. So maybe we can prepare the seed lot of 100 kg to 200 kg, 500 kg, whatever the quantity we have. So I think that is okay. 10,000 kg maximum. That is the maximum size. So I think it is not necessary to change. This is my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, additions? Eddie?
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think the reduction in the maximum seed lot size for tomato in this case is related to the other proposal where we allow uh, or asking or propose to allow for 20 sublots. Now, if you have a 10-ton tomato seed lot, which is highly unlikely that you would ever get it, but I know of 1,000 kilogram seed lots, then 20% of that is quite sizable. And we have only during the experiment that we've done with the vegetable seed industry, did it on tomatoes and on small seed lots. So if we keep it at, or we don't limit the size of the seed lot to those that we have proved that there's a homogeneity within those small seed lots, then we will have to do all those experiments and tests again on the bigger seed lots to prove that there's also homogeneity within those bigger seed lots. So that is just my comment on why we want to lower the maximum seed lot size to um, such a small to 200 kilograms and not leave it at 10,000 kilograms.
Thank you, Eddie, for that explanation. Ignacio, I saw your mic was going on twice. Do you want to say something as well?
No, sorry, Andres. Thanks.
Okay.
All right.
No further comments on that. You can go to the next comment.
Right. The next comment here, we also have our concerns, and it was regarding the second half of the gray box that I read earlier. That this could result in an annual effort to make changes of lot sizes or to be changed for additional species. ISTA should stick to the existing specifications of 10,000 kilograms and not change them unnecessarily. The second half of that box that was mentioned there is, I'll read that for you really quickly while you guys are determining whether you want to comment on this. This proposal was discussed in depth within the Bulking and Sampling Committee and only approved by a close majority of vote within the Bulking and Sampling TCOM, as it was thought unnecessary to revise the weight when the maximum is just that, a maximum, and seed lots can be traded below the maximum. Also, that if future amendments were required to reflect the commercial trade and other species in Table 2C, that this would require a lot of work and effort when the efforts of the Bulking and Sampling Committee could be used elsewhere. So that's what they were referring to in the first part of that comment. We'll go ahead and open the floor up, Andreas.
Yes, any comments on that? Questions, additions? I don't see any open mics. Valerie?
Hi. I'm just wondering, can anybody tell us that there are carrot seed lots that are traded above the 200 kg?
Anyone in the audience can answer this question? I think your question went to the audience, Valerie, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I've opened my mic, so while you going through the long list to see who has the mic open, I'll answer in the meantime. So some of our vegetable companies have indicated that they have tomato seedlots of more than 1,000 kilograms of open pollinated varieties, of course, not of hybrids, which is usually and pollinated on very small lots. But we do have seedlots that's bigger than 200 kilograms. But they are okay with having more seedlots now than they did previously because they feel, well, this is a good suggestion. So they did not oppose it when I posed the question to them if they would have a problem with having smaller seedlots. Thank you, Chair.
Eric?
Yes, I was. I've worked with that experiment. I did the test for that experiment from vegetable seed group, and I know in the Netherlands there's a lot of hybrids that are traded, but they're all below the 10 or at least below the 200 kilograms.
Thank you, Eric, for the information. Any other comments, questions, remarks? No further mics open, Ernest.
Okay, so we'll move forward then to Chapter 3, the purity analysis. C.3.1, Table 3B, Part 2. Numbered pure seed definitions 33. The discrepancy between PSD 33, Table 3B, Part 2, and the ISTA Handbook on pure seed definitions was identified from analyst training. The proposal is developed by the Purity Committee to harmonize the wording of PSD 33 with the example provided in figures 3.1 and 33.1 to include the multi-seed unit that has both fertile and sterile florets. This proposal has been developed and approved by the Purity Committee. and you can see the change there with and. We'll go ahead and open the floor, Andreas.
Okay, any questions, comments, additions? No mics open, Ernest.
Okay. The next proposal, C3.2, Table 3B Part 2, Numbered Pure Seed Definitions 15. Testing laboratories identified that for some species, the schizocarp could be broken and present in a sample. Thus, to make the definition more inclusive for those situations, a schizocarp more than 1/2 the original size is added to 15. This proposal is developed and approved by the Purity Committee, and already you can see in blue the addition there. The floor is open.
Any questions, remarks? Krista, I think you just arrived and you didn't close your mic, right? Okay. Thank you. No green lights, no mics open.
Okay.
Ernest, you may go ahead.
C3.3, revision to clarify C.3.5.2.4 regarding the identification of indistinguishable species. The Purity Committee received many inquiries from auditors and accredited labs when a reported seed to species level for a genus under 3.5.2.4. This amendment is to clarify C.3.5.2.4 procedures only apply when the seed is deemed by laboratories as indistinguishable with discretion. When a lab can identify those example genera, such as Brassica rapa, not Brassica spp, it is outside the scope of 3.5.2.4 and should be correct as long as proficient evidence is provided. This proposal was supported by a majority of vote within the Purity Committee. And we can see the changes to the section here in blue. We'll go ahead and open the floor, Andreas.
Any questions, comments, remarks? Please open your mic now. No mics open. Please go ahead, Ernest.
Okay.
Sorry. Valerie?
Sorry, can the Purity Committee explain what providing evidence means?
Yes, Rojing.
Could you, Valerie, clarify what kind of evidence for this?
In the grey box,
In the
was
grey
suggesting
box.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last sentence in the grey box. Ernest, could you go up to the grey box?
Yes.
Please. Here it says in the last sentence, and should be correct as long as proficient evidence is provided. I think that's your question, Valerie.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that means this proposal, as we indicated, is cause some confusion when lab able to identify them, where the rule says it should report to genus level. So we had a discussion what lab can claim they able to identify to species level or more than genus level. So we said it's a proficiency evidence. So that means if you have any proficiency, whether it's internal or external, showed people can accurately identify the genus to species level. Just like any other species, if you can identify to species level, that should be the evidence to show you are able to do so. So that just support the lab able to identify to the level they claim. Did that answer your question?
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Rogine. All right. Andreas, your mic is muted, but I'm guessing you said you don't see anything else.
David, I said.
Oh, David. Okay.
Yes, yes. Thank you. So,
Not
so,
Ernest, what you want to hear.
so then, if I understand this correctly, then the laboratory is able to make their own determination when a seed kind is indistinguishable to them. They're essentially not required to seek alternate help or anything such as that to truly identify a seed down to the species level. Is that, and you just make that declaration on your OIC? Is that true?
I don't think you need any declaration. At this point in OIC, you can report to genus level or species level whenever you're able to. When you report to genus level, I don't think there is a requirement you have to make a declaration. However, we did consider how, so the first clarification is a laboratory decision, not analyst decision. So laboratory has to examine the justification if analysts say it is indistinguishable. So that is one way. The other way, because we provided example. For example, we gave those examples like brassicas SPP, the other example we provided. So that should be the comparable. If you deem something you couldn't identify to species level, the lab with description, so one of the description you have to comparable to those example species. How difficult are they compared to brassica species or the other example species? If you claim something, it should be identifiable, then you claim it's not described, cannot be separated. Then I think there should have a peer review on that decision, whether that is justified or not, with this example to be compared. Did I answer your question, David?
Yeah. Thank you,
okay.
Rogine. Thank you.
Any other questions? No further questions.
Bamal just put on his camera. Do you have anything, Bamal? No. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Chapter 4, determination of other seed by number, C.4.1, reporting results. The sample weight of the determination of other seeds must be reported with a fixed decimal place. To express it clearer, the misleading word minimum is erased. As well, the table got a number and a heading in sequence. In consequence, the already existing tables 4A and 4B are renamed. The following proposal has been developed and approved by the ISTA Purity Committee, and you can see the change here in 4.7. And we'll go ahead and open the floor, Andreas.
Any questions, remarks? I don't see any open mic. Ernest, please go ahead.
Okay. Chapter 5, the germination test. C.5.1, revision of retesting when fresh seed is present. The purpose of this proposal is to address the issue in the ISTA Rules, section 5.7a, considering the test results of the initial germination test unsatisfactory, and the instruction not to report these tests and require additional testing or retesting when dormancy is suspected in the initial germination test. There should be an option provided to laboratories to either report the percentage of germination and the percentage of fresh seeds determined by the initial test, or to not report the results of the initial test and to conduct additional testing using dormancy breaking procedures listed in Table 5A. When a fuller assessment is requested by the customer or determined by the laboratory, a retest would be conducted. The ISTA rules should allow for the same testing and reporting option for fresh seeds as they do for hard seeds. When, at the end of the testing period, ungerminated seeds are determined to be fresh seeds, the percentage of fresh seeds is reported. When a fuller assessment is desired or requested, the test results are not reported and additional testing is conducted. This proposal originates from and is supported by the Germination Committee. One of the things that the committee asked me to do for this proposal when we were adding this to the rules document was to be sure that I added all of the background information for this proposal so you could fully understand why the proposal was necessary. I'm not going to read all of that now, but since it's been on the website for a while, you've already had a chance to read that. If there are questions or comments, we'll give the committee an opportunity to go through and pick out what's needed from the background information to respond to those questions or comments. We'll see. You can see the changes here in blue. And here you see the paragraphs are just renumbered or relettered. I did receive a comment on this proposal. The comment says, CFIA agrees with the proposer's statement, i.e. for wild and native species, seed lots containing species with fresh seed is considered desirable and not unsatisfactory. However, the purpose of a germination test is to determine the germination potential of a seed lot. instead of recording fresh seed percentage for all species as suggested by the proposal. Maybe another way around is better. Example, with applicant request, dormant and hard seed can be reported with no treatment for dormancy breaking measures. This would add flexibility to native and wild species tests, but at the same time not affecting germination test principles to achieve the germination potential for species, i.e. Crop species. Fuller assessment should be a regular practice to obtain the best potential of germination. Current wording separating dormancy may or may not know, and dormancy is suspected is confusing for reporting. Current ISTA rules are well used for normal situations to achieve maximum germinations. No need to be amended for consistency among labs. I'll go ahead and open the floor to the germination committee if they want to take a second to just look over that and then respond if they would like.
Gillian, your mic is open. Gillian?
Maybe she's on
Maybe.
mute.
She's not on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
David?
Yes. Thank you. I'd like to kind of address this issue in a sense. I agree with the statement that it mentions about, the objective of the germ test is to determine the germination potential. So I guess maybe depending on what you consider germination, quote unquote, is germination the actual germination of the seeds plus the percentage of fresh seeds? Is the germination equivalent to the actual germination plus the percentage of hard seeds? Are those different issues? Just throw that out there. Is the other question would be why then are we not required, if we're concerned about the true germination potential of the seed lot, then why are we not also requiring the germination to be determined for the hard seeds and only for the fresh seeds? Let me bring a good illustration that we dealt with. Some of the discussion, let me get my thoughts here piled up. Another thought that was brought up during the discussion in the Germ TCOM was that it's commonplace for laboratories to do what's considered by the rules of parallel test, where when they have a sample that comes to the laboratory and they don't know the year of harvest or any potential dormancy the species might have, even though that species is known to have dormancy issues, they will run a paired test or a parallel test where they will run, as suggested by the comments, they will run a test with no dormancy breaking procedures and then a consecutive test simultaneously that does use the approved dormancy breaking procedures to accomplish what's there. I think it's a disservice for the ISTA rules to require a retest automatically if there's found to be a percentage of dormant seed. I'm not sure that it really clarifies at what level of fresh seeds. I'm sorry, using the terms dormant seeds and fresh seeds interchangeable. I'll try to use the ISTA terminology. I'm used to using the AOSA rules, dormant seeds. Then at what point is the automatic retest triggered? Does it give you a percentage of fresh seeds that must be present? Is it in excess of the 5%? Because if the fresh seeds are less than 5%, the viability of those ungerminated seeds is not required to be determined, and those seeds are reported as dead seeds. If it's 6%, is that the critical point that triggers the automatic retest for the due to dormancy? These are just things I'm throwing out there for discussion. But another issue that was brought to the Germ TCOM was there was an issue where a seed company did a germination test. They did what the rules require and did the dormancy breaking. And so when they reported out the germination results, the germination percentage was high. The fresh seeds found were insignificant or even zero. Then the seed now is sold. Let's just, for example, say the germination was 95%, zero fresh seeds. The seed was sold. The grower planted the seed. He got a germination of 60%. What had happened was then there were fresh seeds in the seed lot that was sold and planted, unbeknownst to the person buying the seed and planting the seed. So the actual germ, if no dormancy breaking was used, the actual germ was 60%. The percentage of fresh seeds was 30%. So that's a disservice not only to the person buying the seed, as how does the person buying the seed know the percentage of fresh seeds if that percentage is not expressed on a laboratory report? So the laboratory did nothing wrong in conducting the tests. It was all done by the book, by what ISTA rules require, but it caused a problem. So that's where it should be optional. It should be optional for the retest to be done, where the percentage of fresh seeds should be able to be reported just as it is for hard seeds. So I agree that the ISTA rules say in 5.1 that the objective of the germination test is to determine the germ potential. But what is the germ potential? Should that be changed to the potential viability of the seed lot, and instead of using the term germination? I know in some state, or here in the U.S., we consider the label germination as the percentage of germination plus hard seeds, or the germination equals the germination plus the percentage of dormant seeds. So the term germination, viability, potential are kind of two separate issues in a way. So that was the reason for the proposal, was to allow that option to be done. So I hope that answers the concerns from CFIA. But
You get the answer from CFIA right away, Janine.
Thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
David, did the germination committee consider, leaving the rules the same, where you try to achieve the maximum germination potential of the lot, but you still allow the option on customer request or for the lab's needs to not break dormancy? So they could still do that for native species or species where it's important to know the fresh. And instead of making this whole scale change to never breaking dormancy and always reporting fresh. Does that make sense? I'm asking if that was considered.
the discussion we had was a while ago. I don't want to completely rely from my memory, but we covered a lot of ground. I think the kicker on this one was that currently in the rules it states a retest is required. There is no option unless labs do the option of running a parallel test where they're going to run two tests on the same sample. Doing those things is the issue of making it a requirement. You cannot report test results if there is a percentage of fresh seeds that are found, but that actual percentage is not expressed in the current requirement. Mm-hmm. So this seemed to be the way to address both issues more clearly. But I don't want to speak for all of our germ TCOM members that might be on the call that might want to join in the conversation.
Okay. Ignacio, your mic is open. Do you want to say something to
Yes.
that? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Andrea. I think that we have to take in account the 0.5 point 2, point 1, sorry, the germination definition. I think that following this definition, I can say that I fully agree with the Canadian suggestion that maybe in the case of wild species can be an exception, the way to perform the germination test, but not for all the species. Thanks.
Thank you. I then have Sergio and Valerie, but ask Janine, was your question answered? Looks like. Okay, Sergio.
Thank you. And I like a lot this proposal of germination committee. I think it's the first time for me in 20 years that I can see an opening towards not standard species and or wilder native species. I want to say that sometimes it's not so simple breaking dormancy, and tetrazolium test is the evidence of viable seeds, but is not able to detecting the dormancy. So I think should be necessary more discussion about this topic.
Thank you,
I think it's
Sergio.
enough.
Valerie.
Thank you. I just feel that I agree with the CFIA comments. I think from the example that David gave us about somebody sowing out their seed and there was 30% dormancy and then the crop didn't come through as the proposed germination suggested. I don't think that's something that we can't control the conditions that the seed gets sown into, and that's the primary reason that we try and determine the germination potential of a seed lot. I find this proposal quite difficult to understand and would certainly support the CFIA comments. Thank you.
Okay, Craig.
Yeah, so in terms of the New Zealand labs, there was just a specific question around the wording of the rules proposal. So the question was, what exactly does, or precisely does fuller germination assessment mean?
Greg, that would include the idea that if a laboratory wants to say that there's a high percentage of germination, fresh seeds, then they would have a fuller assessment. Then would be to conduct a retest using the appropriate dormancy breaking means, just sort of in a similar fashion, like I mentioned with hard seeds. It's the same thing, that there's allowance in the rules that if a fuller assessment of a germination result that has a significant percentage of hard seeds, if there's no guarantee that the hard seeds that remain at the end of a germination test are viable, but yet there's no requirement to determine the viability of those hard seeds. So if a fuller assessment is required, then you apply procedures that would break the hard seededness and try to find out the germ potential of those hard seeds. With this requirement, with this fuller assessment, that's what essentially it would mean. Would be if you get a result and you have a significant percentage of hard seeds, or fresh seeds stated on your OIC, then you as the sample submitter could contact the laboratory and say, I want you to conduct a retest and give me a fuller assessment of the germination potential by, trying to break the dormancy, so I could know more of what the percentage of germination might be. That's kind of what the fuller assessment would cover, something along those lines. And something. Let me add another thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that's fine, but I guess it comes from the feedback we received. It was potentially around when, as you said earlier, when is that triggered? Is that precise enough in terms of the rules proposed?
Yes. Yep. Yep. And the other thing that was brought up was, I think there was a comment that was made. I think when I talked to the Wild Seeds group, there was a comment that was made about did this negate the risk requirement currently in the rule that states if you have in excess of 5% or more ungerminated seeds, you're required by rule to determine the viability of those ungerminated seeds and then determine if they are fresh or dead. That still stays in place. That is not being canceled. That's not being stricken from the rule. So that requirement is still there. It's the main premise of this proposal was automatically requiring a laboratory to conduct a retest and not allow the laboratory to report their test results just because there was an unspecified percentage of fresh seeds found during the germination test. So that's kind of the meat of the in the nut here as far as this issue. You still should be, the laboratory should still be allowed to report the results. And if the customer gets the results and say, I see there's a high percentage of fresh seeds, do something and try to break that, because you're required by rule, if you use any dormancy breaking procedures, to state those on your OIC. So it's fully transparent already. So we have mechanisms in place. It's just a matter of not requiring a retest. It's not like you're not disclosing any information. It's that you're not requiring a laboratory to go back and do a retest to try to break the dormancy. I know, like Sergio had mentioned, with some of those species in the tree and shrubs, you're talking about a dormancy breaking procedure that may take 3 to 4 weeks. So now your reporting of results is going to be a month delayed because the laboratory is not allowed to report their test results and must conduct a retest using dormancy breaking procedures. So that's, to me, is a disservice not only to the customer that's waiting for the results.
I got a quick question to you, David.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that also harmonizing with AOSA in a way?
We don't require a retest, as far as to my knowledge. We don't require an AOSA rules a retest because of dormancy.
Okay.
If you suspect dormancy, usually people that test the same species year after year after year, kind of the harvest cycle and your likelihood of running into a significant percentage of dormancy during your test. So you are, by rule and by practice, your laboratory practice is to automatically do a parallel test, just for that reason, because our customers want our lab results as soon as possible. And so therefore, it's good practice for the laboratory to meet the customer's need by conducting a parallel test, one with dormancy breaking procedures applied and one without. So therefore, the ISTA rules allow you to report the highest percentage. So, there's a mechanism already in place. It's that current requirement of automatically retesting and not allowing a lab to report the results. That's something, to me, is a disservice to the seed industry.
Andres, we'll take one more question. If one more question is out there, and after that, we'll move forward. Okay.
I had Clyde. Oh, Clyde doesn't. And Aleph Safar. Aleph. Then I take the comment we received via the chat box from Norway 1. They think David got relevant arguments for national cereal samples, not OIC. We pre-chill and report fresh seeds, also when the number of fresh seeds is above 5%. And Aleph has no comment. Please, if you are not willing to talk, please close your microphones, because we take the microphone as an indicator that you want to talk. Sergio, I'm sorry that Ernest cuts you off.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sergio, and anyone else that may have comments on that proposal, if you have comments, go ahead and send that to me or to the Secretariat, and we'll make sure that we get your comments added to this document so that the TCOM can look at it and respond to those comments, and everyone can see those comments. So still send those comments to me, even if you're not able to ask right now. Moving
Okay,
forward, thank you. Moving forward
thank you.
to C 6.1, adding a tetrazolium test method to the rules. This proposal introduces into Chapter 6 of the ISTA rules a new tetrazolium test method. This method is already described in the ISTA working sheets on tetrazolium testing volume 2, published by ISTA in 2003. In addition, 3 other of the same species are already included in Table 5A Part 2 of the germination chapter. The following proposal has been approved by the ISTA TZ committee and is supported by a method validation study. You can see the change here along with the new species. We'll go ahead and open up the floor for comment.
Any comments? And for those who don't know, the method validation study is also available online on the ISTA website.
Absolutely.
I think Clyde's microphone is only open, but no comment. That's it. Please go ahead.
Okay. Chapter 9, determination of moisture comment, C.1.9.1, specifying oven temperatures and tolerances. The current version of paragraph 9.2.5.7 provide only tolerated ranges for drying temperatures. In this proposal, prescribed temperatures are explicitly given, as in paragraphs 9.1.2 and 9.1.3. The proposed tolerated ranges for the high temperature method deviates from the current one, but it is in the same range as prescribed by AOSA. A comparison was conducted in 2 labs, and the statistics committee analyzed the data and supports the proposed change. The report of the peer method validation is also added to this proposal. This proposal originates from and is supported by the moisture committee. And you can see the changes for that proposal. We'll go ahead and open up the floor for comment.
Any comments, questions? Axel?
Yeah, thanks, Andreas. I would like to add that we had an excellent communication and teamwork with Kirk and John Louis regarding the PMA validation study and our method validation. So, original we had 3 labs to do it, and the results from the 3rd lab came late, but were in line as well. So we got a very good proof, and it is as well not only from the moisture committee, but it is as well the proposal from Kirk and John Louis. Thank you.
Thank you, Axel. Any further comments? No other green lights, Ernest. You may go ahead.
Okay. C 9.2, reporting moisture content in seed mixtures. In special cases, it should be possible to report the moisture content of seed mixtures. This proposal originates from and is supported by the moisture committee. Note, if this proposal is accepted, the remaining sections of chapter 18 will be renumbered. Also, you can see the changes to 18.8 in blue below. And Andres will go ahead and open up the floor.
Yes, maybe we were too quick on the first one. Yannick, do you wanted to mention something on the previous or on this one?
No, for C.9.2. So for this one.
Okay.
I just have a question in regards to this one. I have to say that I don't personally have a lot of experience with working on moisture for mixtures. The intent is very clear on this one, but it doesn't seem like there's no study done on this. I could see that there is a risk of misrepresentation of one species over another, just because there is no way to determine what is what in a mixture, right? If this is the intent, then that is totally fine. But I think overall there should be a validation done somehow to see if two species can affect each other somehow with moisture representation.
Axel, you want to say something to that?
So I didn't ask the moisture committee, but my personal meaning is that then you can test everything and you won't find a result that could give the proof that you can use it you can bring it in the ISTA rules. So our intention was that it must be possible if all the single things you have to take in account for one method in moisture. So for example, fine grinding and the same temperature and the same duration, then you can think you have one method, and I would say this would be okay if you mix them together, 3 or 4 or even just 2 species. And this was a whole, I think the whole membership of the committee saw it this way. By the way, this question came, I think, from Florina, if it is possible. So she got the question while in audit.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you.
would think we would stick to this suggestion, even if Yannick has maybe a different opinion of it.
That's fine. I just was seeking clarification on this. I didn't quite understand it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions, remarks, or Jing?
Yes, sorry, I actually related to previous one. I see the moisture committee did a validation study for temperature determination. So I'm just wondering, just try to understand what justify its only contact peer validation. What would justify QLab could representing the method reproducibility. I believe the statistics committee must have provided something, but I'm not quite understand the decision to only contact peer validation. The first, the second, only QLab can make those decisions or sufficient evidence to support that proposal. Is that clear to you?
May I answer this question?
Of course. A short
Okay.
answer.
It was the suggestion of Kirk to do it this way. And if you have statistical questions, please ask Kirk. We thought it would be better to take 3 if one lab would not be able to fulfill these tests, because it is not a usual test, but a test that you take in 5 different things. Okay, I don't want to talk too much about the test, but I was lucky to get 3 labs that are able and are in the mood to do this test. And first, I thought that it is not necessary to do a test at all, but that would mean I think this top is already closed and we shouldn't open it up again.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't see any other green lights.
Janek, whenever you get an opportunity, if you can make sure you forward your comment to us so that we can be sure that we have that and record that correctly, okay? Moving forward, C.9.3, moisture test for coated seed. The moisture test on seed is usually one done with naked, treated, or pelleted seed. Per definition given in Chapter 11, also seed mats and seed tapes are coated seed. This proposal describes clearly how to handle seed mats and seed tapes regarding the moisture test. This proposal originates from and is supported by the Moisture Committee. And we'll see their changes in blue below. And Andreas, let's go ahead and open up the floor while people are reading this.
Okay, yeah, to save time. Has anybody got questions here? You may open. Eric?
Yeah, I have one question. Does this also have to change then in chapter 11? I don't think so, but I can ask Alex.
I don't think so as well. I think we checked it and there was no reference, but we will double check it.
Thank you.
You and me, we are looking at this.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks to both of you for looking at it.
All right. If you don't have anything else, Andreas.
No.
All right.
That's it. Go ahead. Next.
So C.9.4, merging parts 1 and 2 of Table 9A. Parts 1 and 2 of Table 9A are merged due to changes in the crop groups. This change will allow easier inclusion and modifications in the future. Some species are renamed according to Table TC 2C. Additional information of species that are included according to the new taxonomy are given in the last column. This won't be in the rules. It's just for comment for this document so you can see how it worked. As well, the method which has been applied can be found better and faster. This proposal originates from and is supported by the Moisture Committee. And it's quite a long proposal, but I'll stop on the table so you can kind of see how the new table is organized for a moment. And again, I'm going through this kind of fast because most of you guys or everyone should have already had an opportunity to look at these. Since this is so detailed and we're running short on time, I'm just going to kind of stroll through this really fast. Give me 1 second.
In the background, I had an information that there are some dots which may need to be changed against some commas which may need to be changed against dots for decimals.
Okay.
You might need to look at that table again.
Comments that need to be changed. Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You see 0.2%.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll modify that and make that correction in the final document that
Yep.
we repost. All right. I did receive a comment on this proposal. And that comment is the update is welcomed, especially for the tree and shrubs. But why should all agricultural and forestry species now suddenly be shown in one table? Chapters 2, 4, 5, and 6 clearly separate agricultural species and agricultural and vegetable species, tree and shrub, flowers, spice, herb, and medicinal species. Only Chapter 3 combines the general in one table, which makes sense for the pure seed definition. Since species are probably only rarely moved back and forth between different groups, the argument for this amendment doesn't really hold water. The previous separation into different groups is clearer. So I'll.
Okay, may I comment?
Yes, Axel.
Then I would like you to go back to the gray box for this proposal.
Absolutely.
There is written one example. We have, for example, no flower method, no flower table. We have just, right, in the current rules, just the two tables. And if there is a flower species to get a moisture method for, we would have created a third table just for one or two flower species. This is one reason. The other reason is that it's not always so clear to distinguish if it's an agricultural or not an agricultural use. And maybe for the same species, you have to put it in two tables. And I think this is redundant and wouldn't be good. And we think that this putting more in one table is maybe good for other chapters as well. So I got ideas from other chapters that they think over. Maybe they put more in one table to make it easier to find. And we are of the opinion, all of the moisture committee, that this is the better way for the future.
Thank you, Axel. Sergio?
Thank you. I would like to support Axel, and I think in the future, maybe if we have to add some species that could be a tree, but is also an agricultural species, for example, Moringa oleifera, that is a native tree, but is ready for commercial scopes. We have to discuss in which table we have to put, and maybe the future will be one table for each chapter. This is my personal opinion. Thank you.
Okay. Berta?
I just wanted to add, thank you, Andreas. I just wanted to add, this leads to an inconsistency between the chapters. So perhaps we can consider to do the change later or everything together. I had some discussions with German colleagues. So this is my short statement. Would this be a possibility to say, okay, let's wait? And a question is, how often does it take place if species move from one group to another group? So these are my questions.
So do you have any response to that?
I would like to answer. Um,
Yes.
it was very good that we got comments in advance. We published um, this change or this proposal a long time ago, and we discussed it as well within the committee. And I asked for feedback in the group of TCOMs, and we tried to take into account every argument and discuss it uh, in our committee. And as well, this was one argument that couldn't we wait till every chapter is so far. And I think that won't be possible because the chapters are very different, and we stick to the opinion it is good to get it right now in moisture because it has many advantages, and we could after 1-2 years say what's our uh, um, experience working with this table. So I would suggest, and we all would suggest, to get it in the rules right now.
To start small.
Small, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, with one step after the other. David?
I agree with what the committee has done about merging the tables. I think there's other tables, specifically the germination table, that needs to look at doing a similar approach to have the species listed. I think to categorize them by whatever, at what point in time they were determined to be a certain category of seed, whether it's agricultural, flower, herbs, spices, all that. That I'm not sure I understand the relevance of that per se. But I think all that information needs to be merged into a single table. I think it's a great idea. I think it needs to be considered for other tables where you have multiple parts. It's just a good idea to have more information together instead of having it segmented and potentially causing problems. Thank you.
Andreas, do you have anything else? Anyone else?
No, I don't see anyone else, and that should be it. Nope.
Okay. Okay, the next proposal, C.9.5, clarifying the wording initial moisture content. The wording initial moisture content is used in 9.2.6.2 tolerances in the sense of the moisture content measured by the lab, but it is not defined. To make it clear, the word initial is deleted 2 times in the text as well as in the header of column 2 through 4 of Table 9B. This proposal originates from and is supported by the Moisture Committee. And you can see the changes there. Andreas, let's go ahead and open the floor.
Yannick?
I have one question and one comment. So I'll start with the question. So if you would take the word initial out, Table 9b could be interpreted as the average sum between the first 2 replicates and the other 2 replicates from the repeated determination. I'm not sure what the exact intent of the outcome is, so I was just wondering if that is the intended outcome or if it should be averaged just between the first test and not the following test as well.
Thank you. Axel, you want to comment
Okay,
on that?
maybe I have to refer to Sergio, but as I read it, the word initial is only misleading. And that was one finding while going through the rules. I think Tanya mentioned it, that this word initial, what is the sense of it? And we discussed it with Sergio, and he came finally, and Steve as well. And it, as I got it, it makes no sense in this uh, content, and that means that we deleted it, because for me it reads clearer. So if I didn't get your point, Yannick, then maybe Sergio got it better.
No. Yannick, please repeat your doubt.
So I was just wondering, if you take out the word initial, I would read this to be an average between all moisture results available. So this would include the original determination. So in this case, the initial one that you're taking out, right? But also this would include the repeated determination.
Let me an example, a practical example, please. We are speaking about tree and shrubs here, and the topic is tree and shrubs, orthodox, intermediate, or recalcitrant seeds. Correct?
Yes.
And we can make an example of an olm oak or a quercus, in which the moisture initial content is 40%, for example. In this case, you can speak about initial moisture content, and then you reduce the initial moisture content to test it to what done.
Very good point. Didn't think about that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That actually clarifies quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll just move on to my comment. So in table 9b, the header of the first column is seed size, while the rest of the rules don't refer to it as seed size, but seed weight. So I would suggest just an editorial change of that to be seed weight instead of seed size.
Native speakers.
I would think it is a very good suggestion. And Sergio, trees are your chapter. So what do you think? I think it would be editorial and could be changed very fast. I hope so.
Yes. Agree.
Andreas, since we are already running kind of short on time, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next one, okay?
Yeah,
We are
perfect.
already over our time, as a matter of fact.
Yes, and I see some people are leaving. We went down quite a number in the last 10 minutes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the next proposal, C11.1, updates and clarifications. With more and more seed treatments available, Chapter 11 requires an update to remain current with new advancements. The whole chapter was written, was reviewed by the Purity Technical Committee and updated to include recent changes to Chapter 10 TSW. There were also clarifications made on how to report and what to report. This proposal was approved by a majority vote of the Purity Committee. let's go ahead and open up the floor for comments while I'm strolling through, Andreas.
Yeah.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, Madeleine?
Where can I find this document?
It's under the documents for the OGM. You go to the ISTA website, you go to the annual meeting in Verona, and below that you will find all the OGM documents.
Is there a link?
Cecile was nice in the chat. You find the link.
Oh,
Thank you, Cecile.
thank you very much.
There is a consequential change if this proposal is accepted. Changes to Chapter 1 will need to be made also so that they are harmonized with C11.1. All right, Andres, I'm guessing you didn't have anything else, right?
I don't have anybody opening their mics. No.
Okay. C11.2, revision of Chapter 11, germination-related sections. This proposal is to improve the germination area of Chapter 11, testing coated seeds by rewording the general principles, evaluation, and reporting results. This proposal was prepared by and is supported by the Germination Committee. I'll go ahead and stroll through, Andres. I didn't receive anything, so you can go ahead and open the floor.
Yeah, if anybody wants to say questions, remarks, you may open your mind at your discretion.
Another consequential change that needs to occur in Chapter 1 if this proposal is approved. Again, this just harmonizes C.11.2 with Chapter 1.
Rikim just mentioned that on top of page 46, limus, the Y is missing.
On top of page 46?
Yes.
I'll change that later
Yep.
offline.
Yep. Thank you for that comment.
Okay. Chapter 13.
I don't see any further comments on that. You may go ahead.
Chapter 13, C.13.1. Revision of Chapter 13, germination-related sections. This proposal is to improve the germination area of Chapter 13, testing seeds by weighed replicates, rewording the calculation and expression of results, and reporting results. This is supported by and originates from the Germination Committee with input from the Forestry and Shrub Committee also. Let's go ahead and open the floor, Andreas.
Yeah. Any questions to that? Comments?
Okay.
I have no comments. Nadine, you opened your mic in between. Was that by mistake?
It was just a mistake.
Okay, good.
Chapter 14, the X-ray test, C.14.1, revise and update the chapter to improve clarity. A little bit of background. Chapter 14 is obsolete due to new generations of X-ray machines and applications of digital technology. Technical committees of ATC, FTS, and Purity organized the revision and developed the proposal. Significant revisions and updates are focused on equipment and its operations, as well as clarification on reporting. Andreas, while I go through this, if you can go ahead and open the mic.
Yes. Any comments, please open your microphones.
Mainly background information and general principles here. While this is a lot of change, again, we're running short on time, and you guys have already read all this, so we'll just move through it.
Okay.
Have you received anything, Andres?
Not yet.
Okay. There is a consequential change in Chapter 1 also that is needed to make sure that C.14.1 is harmonized with Chapter 1's reporting section.
Yeah, thank you.
So the final thing that we need to discuss, that's all from this document. This was what was posted about a month ago on the ISTA website. The last thing that we need to discuss before we close out this meeting is editorial changes for the seed health testing section. This information was given to us, but it wasn't put in and published online. So the ECOM has agreed that this editorial correction, especially because it is an editorial correction, should be voted on also at the 2023 OGM. I'm going to stroll through the document just so you guys can see some of the editorial corrections. I will open the floor on this editorial correction at the annual meeting, since this is your first time being able to see this document. So 8.1, Chapter 7, editorial corrections. In order to harmonize sample size sentences throughout Chapter 7, the CHEP committee reviewed all of Chapter 7 methods and suggested improvements. So just small wording changes to improve the clarity of what the paragraphs say in Chapter 7 in this first part. And all of these changes are the same. Again, same wording for every one of the methods in Chapter 7 under sample size. The next part of this proposal dealt with changes that was discovered by the committee dealing with dilution levels. It appears that the dilutions always go negative, and unfortunately in the rules it was listed as a positive. So those numbers were changed to reflect the correct way that the dilutions should be written in the ISTA rules. So you can see those here went from change was from 10 to the first power to 10 to the -1. Dilutions are always negative. .6.6 was modified just for clarity. Andreas, if you don't mind just opening the mic up if someone has a question
Yeah, if
while I'm
someone
going through this.
has a question, please go ahead and open your mics.
Again, just more clarity here going through the proposal. Dilutions at the top in 3.2 went negative like they were supposed to. Here, a slight wording change for clarity. .7 was an error that was fixed in the revision. And there were a number of pictures that are added to this that's included with this for clarity. Also, much higher resolution in my opinion, much better to identify what you're looking at and what's being described in the paragraph. That will be posted on the ISTA website also for you to view. We don't have time to view it during this presentation, but you will be able to see this on the ISTA website. Again, for this editorial correction, I will open this back up at the annual meeting for you to be able to comment on. If you are on this call and you will not be able to make it to the annual meeting, go ahead and send me your comments. I'll make sure that the Seed Health Committee acting chair gets that so that they can respond to your comments on this proposal.
And this proposal will be put on the ISTA website under the documents for the OGM.
Absolutely. So that is.
So everybody can find it the next days.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That concludes all of the ISTA rules proposals, editorial corrections also. I want to thank everyone that responded to these comments.
Ruth has got maybe some words as a vice chair of the Seed Health Committee.
Well, there's only one thing that I noticed going through the comments again today is, and the rules changes, is that there is one times the PSI, so Pseudomonas PSI, is not completely in italic. So that's also, I will write it down and send you that so that that can be confirmed. And
Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, Ruth.
Ernest, now your closing remarks.
There you go. Okay. So again, I want to thank everyone that responded to these proposals, to the comments that was put out here today. They, unlike previous years, they did not have a chance to review this ahead of time. So I think everyone just did a great job. Again, I will send these comments to the TCOM chairs for them to reiterate on the comments document what they said, and they can make it look a lot better and put a little more thought into those comments also, so that you can make your decision at the OGM on whether you want to support these proposals throughout. With that, that's all I have, Andreas. Thank you guys for attending.
Yeah, thank you as well. If you can close your presentation and everybody can open their pictures. We can still take a quick picture, and I would like to let you know as well that this session will be posted on the YouTube channel. If you could you close your presentation?
Yes, sir. Let me try to do that. Try to stop sharing. And if I click, sorry, Andreas, I'm trying. Oh, there you go.
Yes. Okay. Now, if you all say cheese or seed or whatever you like. Seed, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks a lot, and hope to see you all in Verona. Take care.